For years, I've been trying to improve our support inbox process because it always felt like it's taking way too much time for what it essentially is, which is answering some variation of the questions that we have already answered so many times. So last week, I played a bit with Claude Code and fixed it in 1 hour. I basically built an automation that reads all the incoming emails to the support inbox and drafts the replies. And then our team just reviews it, edits if needed, and then hits send. And this automation has actually been trained on all of our previous answers, so all the emails we have already sent out, and defined to write in our tone of voice. So my estimate is that this will cut down the time needed to reply by 70 to 80%. And in this video, I'll show you how this works, how I actually build it, so that you can do it too. So let's jump into the context first. So basically we have one email that's dedicated just to customer support or potential customer support. And this is our support@the.mba. And it's just a regular Gmail G Suite account with its own inbox. And yeah, I just hidden these messages here, but behind you can see there's some emails here from different dates. And the basic problem that we have here is already the fact there's very messy inbox because there's some promotional emails, there's some spam emails, some unsolicited job opportunities or job applications, and so on. So not all of these need answers, but they do take up the space, the visual space, and the cognitive space of the person working in this space. When there is a genuine question from a potential student or student, well, we were mostly writing these replies from zero, so drafting every single one without any proposals or any like templates. So we were starting from zero, or sometimes we were copy pasting some of the previous emails if the questions were the same, or using something called snippets. But still, we just use those for maybe 2 or 3 most frequent questions. And if the question was not related to one of those most frequent questions, we still had to do everything from scratch. And this system is supposed to handle all of that. And based on the first tests, it does. So the way it works right now is that basically if I run the automation, it just automatically has a look at the inbox and see if and which emails need drafting. If the emails do not need reply, it just basically sends them to the no action required. If it needs action required reply, then it drafts a reply and leaves it in the inbox so the person working on the support can actually review the email and just edit or just send it out. So maybe I'll come to this later and just show you how it works. I think this is the most interesting part. So I have here one question which I sent to this inbox just for us to be able to demo this. So let's jump into something called anti-gravity, and let's just tell it to run the support email flow. And what it should do is basically the following. Well, let me just show you here, right? So it's going to have a look at all the emails that are in the inbox, in this case just one, and it's going to decide whether it needs any action or not. So the ones that do not need action are spam emails, unsolicited job applications, sales pitches, or like system emails from companies like Instagram and so on. If there is an action required, if drafts a reply based on something called a rack, and rack is a database of all of our previous responses. So that's the really cool part about this system. It's not just trained on like a document of like FAQs, but it's actually trained on what we already have, which is a big database of all the answers, all the emails we have already sent out previously. And the reason this is important, RAG, is because of something called context rot. And this is something most people are not aware of, which is the fact that actually there's a certain limit to which the model is giving you like a better response based on more context you provide. So there's usually some kind of a drop-off where if you put more input, more context, actually the performance drops. And this is at a certain point, right now it's around 5,000 to 10,000 tokens for Claude. And if we were just basically feeding this whole model with all the possible questions and answers, which is what most of the system I have seen online do, then we would basically be just rotting the context. And with RAG, it's a retrieval system where it can just based on much more optimized context, have a look at the most relevant part of its database to find the answer and just use that part of the database and then bring it back to draft the response and keep the context clean so we have better responses. So where was I? Okay, drafting a reply. So after the draft is prepared, then there's the email waiting for review in the inbox. Then somebody from the team can review the email, maybe redraft it or just send it out. And after it's sent, and this is a really cool loop, after it's sent out, then actually it is being sent back to the rack to train it. Like, okay, how did the employee actually use or write this reply so that it's stored for the next usage. So this database is constantly being improved and updated. So if I go back to anti-gravity now, we should have the done message. So that took probably like something like 15, 20 seconds while I was talking and walking you through the process. So if this is done, if I now go into the email, there should be, so this email now has an action required label at his state in the inbox, and I should have a pretty nice draft here. Hey, Alan, good question. Okay, so my question is basically here above about the difference between the self-paced version of the DMBA and the cohort one. So what's the difference in the curriculum between two formats? And does one cover more material? So the answer is actually they cover the same material, but they just are different in terms of the format. So let's see what the answer says. Good question. The self-paced option is truly flexible. There are no live sessions. Everything is pre-recorded. The cohort-based program does include live sessions and group work, so it has more of a structured schedule. It also tends to have more interaction. In terms of curriculum, both formats cover the core, and so on. The cohort version layers on live components, but you're not missing out on content by doing self-paced. That's correct. And also the tone of voice here, very casual, no M dashes, it's pretty much the way we would respond to these emails. So we could just send it out. So that's essentially the process. And as I said, really cool part about this is the self-learning loop here that we have. So if you like this process and actually you find yourself running a similar system, maybe with Gmail or some kind of a different provider, you can basically rebuild what I have built here. And I'm actually sharing my prompt to do so. So the prompt, basically this is just a screenshot from the Google Doc. You can find the link in the description below the video. Basically it just says to the system, hey, I want to build a support email automation for, and then insert your domain. It should classify the emails. It should then, for the action required emails, draft it. For drafting, please use RAG trained on past replies. So please build the knowledge base. I also defined the tone. You can obviously change that the way you want it. And also very important part here that I have learned is the following. Let me just highlight this. To specify which system or which model you wanted to use for classification versus drafting. So this is for writing emails, and this is for classifying which emails even need to be drafted or need to be replied to. So it's just much cheaper to use Haiku 4.5 and Opus 4.6 for drafting. So Haiku obviously is the more cheaper model. It just can handle way more emails in terms of the labeling and classifying them, whereas then we just using the most capable model for drafting. And that just allows us to really do much faster, to process these emails much faster than if we used Opus for classification and for drafting, which is what I have used in the first version of this automation. And it just took a minute to even process 3-4 emails. So this is now much more optimized, where you can do 10 emails in 45 seconds. Some other things I have learned in the process are also added here below, so that your model, when you're actually building it, already knows that. A really nice and interesting addition is the recency decay formula, which means that when we're building the database for RAG, it is actually weighing the most recent emails, the most recent emails that we have sent out. It's weighing them more heavily than an email that was sent a year ago, because it's just the assumption is that products change and our terms of service change and things like that. So it's more likely that the recent emails are more correct than the older ones. And yeah, if that's not true for you, you can also take this one out. And what I want to tell you is that when you're building this, just treat it as a very iterative process. Just take this prompt, build it, test it, see what's working and what's not working for you in your case, and then tweak, build it again, test it, tweak, and that's all it is. It's just a process of iteration and figuring out what's working, what's not. And you can just use the natural language. So you can go back into the system and, hey, I want you to change this and this. And you can just do this in a natural language and you can just update this so it's built for you. The last part that's very, very important as well is once you have built this, how do you actually share this with your team? Well, one case is that somebody in your team maybe knows how to use anti-gravity or a similar kind of tool. Well, actually, these days you could even just use it to Claude Code in the desktop app, but I'm digressing. So either you have somebody in the team who knows how to run these kind of automations, so you can teach them. Another option is what I have started doing is building a simple tool just for our team to be able to just run all the automations that we're building. So basically, it's just a very simple page where we can all log in and we can see all the workflows that we have already built and the ones we're building. And you can, if you're like a person working in the support team, maybe you just have access to this one. So you click on the support email one, and then you can also see the history, how many times it was ran, how long it took. You can also, if we have created different versions of this workflow, you can see the last one and the previous ones, because maybe the previous one worked better than the new one, and then we can also revert back. But the whole idea is just to give to the whole team the chance to maybe in a in a new UI that just looks a little bit more approachable, just use these same tools. So you can see here, it's just click of a button. You can just choose what kind of run mode you want to do it. Do you want to update the knowledge base? Do you want to just label only the emails? Do you want to do the full process? Which is, yeah, please label the emails, draft replies, and update the knowledge base, right? You can just click this and you can just you can click the start run. I won't do it right now because we just did it, so there's no new emails. But if I was to do so, well, actually, let's do it. So you see how it works. So let's just unread this email. Actually, let's also unlabel this email and so let's click start run. So it's going to just take a few seconds and it's going to do the same thing that I did before in an anti-gravity. So this was just a fun little project for me on the side, just to make this a little bit more approachable for the team. As I said before, you don't have to do this. You can also just, very easily teach the team how to use a tool like anti-gravity, which is here, right? Yeah, if you want to build your own tool, I mean, these days, that's just so much easier. And maybe in the future, I'll also share a video of how I have built this. Okay, so you see it took us 30 seconds to do this, to fetch, to classify, and draft. So let's see if it's now done again. Refresh. Yes, same thing, just a different UI for us to be able to basically run the workflow. Yeah, I hope that was useful. If it is, and if you have any questions about how to build this, how to maybe how to build this part, or how to build just in general the workflow for support email, drop the comment below and let's chat. And I see you in the next one.